Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is TheSpazDevil and this is quite simply the ultimate no bullshit guide to Tombs of Amascut. Now, this is the guide that you have been looking for. I am going to show you how to solo 150s. Do this solo before you start raiding with people. You will learn all the mechanics. I am going to set all the rooms up for you. I'm going to give you incredible tile packs and I'm going to give you all the best plugins and guide you room by room through this raid, make it fun, make it interesting, and you are going to be able to do this. I guarantee you can do this raid. Let's go. Right, first things first, download the standard Tombs of Amascut plugin. Don't fuck with it, just download it and turn it on. Job done. Next, you are going to download a plugin pack called Radius Markers. Now, once you've got that, in the description to this video, you are going to copy the text that will be there. You go to the Radius Markers plugin, which is automatically added to the right-hand side of RuneLite. You go to the top and you will see something that says import radius markers from clipboard. You copy everything from the description, you paste it there. Job done. What these radius markers are going to do is automatically draw a hitbox around Akkha. We will get to that room, and it will change colour depending on what style of combat he's using. It makes it so much easier to get your switches and prayer switches correctly when it's all colour coordinated. I'm also giving you the radius markers for the gauntlet to make the Hunlef really easy, so expect a video coming on that very soon. Next, you're going to download the Tile Pack plugin, and once you have that plugin, open it up and you are going to turn on the Toa Akkha butterfly, you're going to turn on the Kephri melee trap, and you're going to turn on the Zebak Puzzle. Just turn those ones on, the ones that you can see highlighted in the video. Job done. Now, the next thing we're going to do before we actually start raiding properly is I am going to show you how to set up the horrible monkey room and make it really easy for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into like an entry-level 0 invocation raid just to set up the monkey room and tag all the monkeys correctly. So let's just go ahead and gear up. So stick on all of your best melee gear like you can see here. Now listen, I know your gear might not be as good as this, it doesn't matter, just get the best melee gear you can. There's just a few items that are pretty mandatory when doing this raid to make your life so much easier, and I'm going to cover them for you now. First of all, the Helm of Nature's Knot. If you don't have the face guard, just the regular Helm of Nature's Knot is absolutely fine. This helm is going to stay on you for the entire raid. You're never going to have to switch out your helmet because we're going to be learning with what's called a 6-way switch. We'll get more into that in a minute. Next, the Amulet of Blood Fury. Now, I know the prices on these are a little bit steep. I think they're going for probably about 8 or 9 mil. It's worth the investment. It is absolutely a must-have in raids. Everybody uses one. When you're attacking with melee, it will give you consistent heals. You're definitely going to want to take an Amulet of Blood Fury in. If you really can't afford it, you can get away without it, but it is going to make your life so much easier. Now, dragon boots or prims, if you can afford them, again, are going to be the other item that are never going to change. So this is one of those slot pieces which is going to be on you for the entire raid. We're going to be doing a 6-way switch, so the body, the legs, the weapons, all this kind of stuff we're going to be switching as we go, but the boot slot is going to stay the same the whole time. So dragon boots or prims if you can afford them. Now, if you have them, ferocious gloves are amazing. If you don't have ferocious gloves yet, then definitely Barrow's gloves are going to be fine. And to be fair, they're going to save you an extra slot when it comes to switching. So my melee switch is 7 pieces, but if you have only Barrow's gloves and don't have ferocious, it's going to be a 6-way switch. But again, I'm going to cover all of this soon, so don't worry. The Light Bearer is a ring that you're going to wear for the entire raid. This is absolutely mandatory and crucial. This is the best in slot ring when it comes to Tombs of Amascut. It means that your special attacks will come back super quickly, and you're going to see how important that's going to be throughout the raid. So go ahead and invest in a Light Bearer ring. They are very cheap. They're like 1.5 mil. Just go grab one. Now that we've covered some of those specific items, remember we are going to be doing this properly in a little bit. This is just to set up the monkey room. The rest of it, just wear your best melee gear. I'm going to show you the inventory now, what the other items are that you're going to bring, the little taster, and how we're going to set up the rest of the raid. For the rest of the inventory, bring some magic gear and some range gear. If you're wondering how I've managed to get them all to look a different color, there's a plugin called, I believe, Inventory Tag, which will let you tag colors to specific items. So I know that my range gear is going to be green, I know that my magic gear is going to be blue, and then I'll tag all of my melee items to red, just to make all the switches really really easy for me. You basically shift click on the items and then you can actually tag with a colour and then you can pick whatever colour you want, but this is definitely how I would set up your inventory. Now, while we set up the room, this might be a little bit of overkill, but just bring a couple of Saradomin brews, a couple of super restores, maybe a super combat potion, a range potion, an anti-venom plus, and a stamina potion, and then bring with you like a sea turtle, an anglerfish, and a Samfu serum. This is just in case. I also understand that you might not have the Divine Rune pouch yet, so what you want to do as well is, of course, you need to make sure that you are on the Ancient Spellbook, and you want to bring the runes to be able to cast the best ice spell that you can, and the best blood spell that you can, in terms of a multi-attack spell, okay? We're going to be using Ancients quite a bit within the raid, specifically on a couple of rooms we're going to be using Ancients, so this is going to be really helpful for you. You should also set your spellbook filters to do things like turn off the utility spells and teleport spells, and when you don't have the runes to cast something, it just means that your spellbook will look really clean because you're only going to be using 2 spells, so I would go ahead and do that as well. Okay, now that we are ready to just set up the monkey room, we're going to just do that and then leave, and then I'm going to set you up for the raid properly. Go ahead and click the obelisk in the middle and make a party. Then you want to go to your invocations, and whatever's on there, just clear all of them. So just clear all invocations, press yes, and that will be a 0 level raid. It will be super easy, everything will be super low level, and then we can run straight in and go and set up that room so that we are ready to start raiding. So let's jump into the raid. Now, I'm sure most of you have probably got this set up, but make sure that your tile indicators and improved tile indicators packs are on. We want to be able to see our true tile all the time, and the reason we want our true tile is for tile skipping. Again, I'm sure most of you know what this is, but if you are walking, your character is going to go on each tile individually, and if you set to run, you actually skip, so you move 2 tiles at a time. That means that I'm going to put these markers down here. Imagine this is a line of poison and you are stood next to it. If you have your run turned on and you click in front of the poison, you actually run over it and you never touch it, so you're not going to get poisoned if there's stuff on the floor. This is also going to be very useful for the Zebak room, for the puzzle, and even the Kephri puzzles. Tile skipping is very important. It's a lot easier than it sounds. It's really basic stuff. I just thought I'd touch on that really quickly. Now, let's go and run into the room, which is the Path of Baba, or the dreaded monkey room, and let's go set it up to make it easy for you. Couple of more plugins you want to turn on: the better NPC highlights and NPC indicators. We want to turn them on so that we can tag all of these monkeys, get them to the right color. Just like we tagged our gear, we're going to tag the monkeys as well. It's going to make this room a lot easier for you. Next, I'm going to show you what you should be wearing every time you go into the monkey room. So you're going to want to put on whatever the best range top is that you have. You're going to change your bottoms to the magic bottoms. Make sure that your assembler is on. You want your Barrows gloves on. You want to make sure that your Blood Fury is on. The helm and the boots, as I've mentioned, will stay the same throughout the entire raid. So this is what you're going to look like whenever you go into the monkey room, obviously just with the best in slot gear that you have. With this setup, the only thing we're going to be changing throughout the room are our weapons. So the bow, the staff, and your melee weapon. I'd also free up the defender from your hand. Just go ahead and put your weapons at the top spots of your inventory, because it'll just make it a lot easier to switch, because you're not going to have to switch any of the armor stuff. Now that we're ready to go in, go ahead and grab a hammer from the box and go and grab one of the potions. Now, I believe it's menu entry swapper. I think that's the plugin you need to use, but shift click on the potion and change it to pour. This means that when you have to pour the potion onto the vents, you don't need to press use and then use it on the vent. You just stand over the vent, you press pour, and then it will make life a lot easier for you. So change the left click option to pour on the potion. Once this is done, go ahead and run into the room. I like to go onto the opposite side of the room. This is just the way that I always do it. Now, the first monkeys that are going to spawn are going to be brawlers. These are going to be melee monkeys. We are not going to tag these, so we're not going to tag any of the monkeys that we're going to be using blood barrages on. They are weak to magic, so these first monkeys, just dispatch of them with magic and don't bother tagging them. If the skulls appear on the pillars, just click one of the pillars to actually fix it. You only actually need to wait for the XP drop for the crafting experience, and then you know the pillar's been fixed. So as soon as you click it and you see the XP drop, you can go ahead and run away. Remember, we don't actually need to complete this room. We're just going to tag the monkeys that we need to. Then we're just going to die and leave, and we're going to get ready to do the 150s. Now, here are the first 2 monkeys we are going to want to tag. So don't kill them, just tank them if you have to. You are going to want to shift click on the baboon mage and make sure that he is tagged blue. Blue will always relate to magic, and for the ranger, you're going to tag him green. Now, you know how the combat triangle works. The green rangers you're going to want to kill with melee, and the mages you are going to want to use your range weapon for. Here you can see the skulls have appeared over the vent, so just run over to one of the vents, it doesn't matter which one. Make sure you're stood directly over the vent, and then in your inventory just press the potion for pour, and it will sort that out. As long as you hear the sound of the potion pouring, you know it's definitely been done. Sometimes the skulls will stay there for a little bit. Don't worry, you have done it. You won't take any damage from them. Now, the next monkey we want to tag is the baboon shaman. I like to make him yellow. This guy will spawn more monkeys for you. So for most of this room, you're going to just have protect from melee on. You can let all of these little monkey spawns build up on you because you're protecting melee. And these guys, you can actually cast blood barrage on to heal them. But I like to make the shaman yellow so that if I need to do some heals, I can leave the shaman alive for a bit, let him spawn some monkeys. Just make him yellow. Now, this monkey walking over here is the volatile baboon. Now, the volatile baboon will explode if he gets next to you. He will do like an animation. He'll stop and then he will blow up, dealing massive damage. This is the only tricky one to tag. You need to tag him while he's in this particular phase, while he's walking. As soon as he freezes, it's a different NPC ID. So you want to tag him while he's like this and make him red. The reason we make him red and we don't tag the melees or the brawlers is you will always see the red tile underneath you. So if there's loads of monkeys in the room and you don't see him properly, you'll take massive damage. All you need to actually do is run past him or like really close to him, and he will automatically just blow up when he gets within a certain distance to you. But you've got a couple of second delay, so it's really easy to deal with him. Now, just do your best to obviously clear the room. If the pillars pop up again, just go ahead and fix them. If it's the vents, just go ahead and pour the potion on the vents again. The next monkey we're going to look to tag, I call him the gonorrhea monkey. Now, the gonorrhea monkey basically walks around and shits out gonorrhea patches, which will give you massive venom damage and poison damage. And in order to heal this damage, if you stand on the poison, you actually have to have 2 doses of your Sandfuse serum, unless, of course, you've got an anti-venom active. But that's why we bring a Sandfuse serum into the actual raid, because the first sip will heal all of the venom damage and the second sip will act as an anti-poison. So this is how you deal with that. Now, the way we deal with this monkey is we always cast ice barrage on him to freeze him. It will stop him putting shit around the room, and then you will kill him with range. He's quite weak to range, so freeze him, then range him. That's how you deal with that monkey. Once you've tagged all these guys, you're done. The room is now set up, so you can go ahead and just die. I'm just going to kill myself so that we can leave the raid. And now I'm going to show you what you came here for. There's going to be amazing timestamps in the description for you. So if there's a certain room that you're struggling with, or there's some things that you find really easy and you don't need to watch the whole guide, you can skip through the timestamp. At this point, I'll also say like and subscribe to this video. If you want to come raid with me, hit me up in the game. Add me. Send me a message, join the clan, join the Discord, whatever you want to do. I will happily give you a step-by-step guide through the raid as well on a Discord chat, and we can do it together. Right, let's talk invocations. Now, the first thing we're going to put on is softcore run. What this means is that you are essentially going to have 3 attempts to complete the raid. It means that if you're struggling and you die, you can just leave the raid and it won't count as a hard death, so you're not going to have to pay to get your items back. You can just leave safely at any time. Now, as you get better, you can change this, for example, to hardcore, where you only get 1 life. You can put speed trials in there when you know you can do it really easily. These are really nice, easy invocations to start building up those numbers. So for now, let's stick on softcore run. Scroll down and we're going to stick on a diet and lively larvae. Also put on blowing mud and not just a head. The next one we're going to put on is feeling special. This is one of those invocations you're absolutely going to want to learn. It just becomes a totally free invocation for you. It will make Akkha's Simon Says attack a lot quicker, but it's really easy to avoid this attack, so we're going to learn this together. Next, we're going to stick on Gotta Have Faith and Shaking Things Up. These are the invocations for Baba. Finally, we're going to put all the Wardens Invocations on except for Insanity, because while you're learning, Insanity is going to be difficult for you. And as you can notice from the Invocations, they're split into sections, so there'll be some of them are to do with the raid itself, supplies, timings, all that kind of stuff. Some of them are individual for the bosses that you'll be fighting, so it's really easy to get your head around all of this stuff. After a couple of runs, you'll be able to start building it up very, very nicely. Again, if this video does well and you like it, then I will do one for 200s, 300s, 350s, solo Missouri kits. I will do videos on that. They take a lot of time to make these videos. If you are watching it, these videos sometimes get thousands of views. Please just hit me a like. It genuinely helps the channel so much, and these videos take literally fucking hours to put together. Now, I'm going to touch very quickly on gear because I don't want this video to be crazy fucking long. But basically, bring the best gear that you can. The main items that you're going to really want are like the Necklace of Anguish, the Occult Necklace, your Tormented Bracelet, like those best in slot items I really think you should invest in and get. We're going to start the raid actually with our magic setup. So again, it's all going to be 6-way switches except for the melee. If you do have the Ferocious Gloves, it will be an extra spot. If not, and it's the Barrow's Gloves, it's also going to be like a 6-way switch. Remember, the boots and the helm, they don't change. Also, again, just to reiterate, don't forget to bring your light bearer and a holy blessing or a Rada's blessing for that prayer bonus. Now, this is how your inventory is going to look. We want to keep everything nice and organized. And if you don't have a bofa, you can either bring a dragon crossbow with whatever bolts you want, whatever you want to use. I'm not going to go into a full breakdown of the gear on this because whatever the best stuff you have is the best stuff that you're going to use here. Even a blowpipe for the entire raid will get you through it. Now, another relatively expensive item, but something that will really help you out, will be the Bandos Godsword, because it has obviously a defense lowering special attack, which will make the bosses so much easier to kill. If you can't afford it, then again, on lower invocations like 150s, you can absolutely get through the raids without it, but it is definitely worth the investment as a long-term investment because you're going to be using this thing so much. You're also going to want to bring a Dragon Dagger. Does not have to be a poisoned one at all, but the Dragon Dagger will be used for its special attack during the Warden phases when you need to attack the skull that lands on the floor. So again, we'll talk through all of this, but a Dragon Dagger, you will need that as well. Make sure you've obviously got your Sandfuse Serum just in case. These things can come in really, really clutch because not only do they heal venom and poison and everything, they also act as a super restore potion, which is why they are quite spenny. And also remember to bring your runes for Blood Barrage and Ice Barrage, and also, like I said, a Dragon Pickaxe to deposit into the Akkha room. You can go do that before we start the raid and set that up. I'll show you where it needs to go, and then you can actually pull it back at any point after a raid from this little cavity in the wall. You will find that as you do things properly, you will probably have loads of leftover supplies here. Before we head into the raid, we are going to do a pre-pot. So to do our pre-pot, we are going to take out a Divine Super Combat Potion, a Divine Ranging Potion, a Stamina Potion, and an Anti-Venom Plus. You're also going to take out 1 Sea Turtle and 1 Anglerfish, so that when you do all of your pre-potting with those Divine Potions, you eat the Sea Turtle and then you eat the Anglerfish, and it will actually boost your health above as well, so you're going into the raid properly ready. Now go ahead and do your pre-pot and then go back into your bank, and for you guys learning, and I'm going to do the same thing, go and take 5 Sarah Brews and 5 Super Restores. I'm also going to go ahead and equip my Assembler because it will free up an inventory spot for me. You also want to make sure that you keep that Super Combat Potion in your inventory because it will become useful later on. Now the first room we're going to start with is going to be the Path of Krondis, so let's go. Now with our plugins and tile packs, you will see that all of this bullshit is all over the room. We'll go into the room, pick up one of these water containers, and you're going to run across to the other side of these spiky areas, starting specifically from a blue tile. If some green shit does fly at you while you're moving down the path, you can swap to one of the other pathways just to avoid it. You'll get used to this the more that you do it. Start from a blue tile, walk across, fill up water, and make sure you don't get hit by the green shit that comes at you from the other way. Once you're back across, go ahead and click on the palm tree in the middle of the room, and then after a couple of seconds, a crocodile will spawn, who will then walk towards the palm tree and fuck it up and make you have to do even more bullshit. Wait for him to start moving and then cast Ice Barrage on him. The ice spell will not take effect unless the crocodile has actually started moving. Once that's done, go to a different fountain area and go and get some more water, come back, use it on the palm tree, and that is literally the room done. It is fucking brain dead. If you are using a BGS, go ahead and equip all of your melee gear and put your BGS on, and make sure when you go into this next room when we fight this boss that you have got piety on, just for landing that special attack with the BGS, and protect from melee just as you're running towards him to land the spec. Now what you want to do is you want to run at this fucking Mexican wrestling ass lizard motherfucker, hit him with a spec, and as soon as you see the spec swing, move away or he can actually bite you. As soon as you've hit him with a couple of specs, just make sure you're ready to start praying correctly and dodging those attacks. Assuming your specs have landed correctly, you want to come over to where I am now, get your range gear on, switch obviously to rigor, and then start just slapping the fuck out of him with whatever you have got. Now I'm also going to mention there's a special attack that can do massive damage where he puts these rocks down and you need to do a solve. If you are standing in the water, actually on the tile in the water, you can actually spam a Sarabrew and survive if you fuck up the puzzle. So this is just something to know. Now the first special attack is the jug special. So you're just going to find a jug and you are going to push it towards one of the black rocks. And it's got quite a large spread area. You'll see how much it actually clears up that poison around the rocks. Once you have done this, you can go stand behind the rock and continue to attack until he does his loud shouty shout. Sometimes you will need to push one of the jugs and actually click it while it's moving, and that will make you fire a range attack at it and it will break wherever you hit it, so you can start to roll it towards the area you want it and then hit it, and then that will clear up that space in the room for you. It's also very useful to point out that you can actually be up to 3 tiles behind the black rocks and it will fully defend you from the shouty shout attack. Once Krondis has finished having his literal fucking hissy fit, then go back over to where I am on the side of the room. You want to stay on the sides of the room. It actually makes the solves a little bit easier. Don't know why. Just fucking trust me. Just do it. And then continue to slap the fuck out of him, and we're going to get ready for the wave attack. Now, it should be very obvious, but obviously the red attacks that he launches are magic, and the black attacks that he launches are obviously going to be range. Now, these attacks will do damage when they actually hit you, not when the animation happens. So it actually makes it very, very forgiving, and you can really take your time in doing these prayer switches. Really, really easy. Just as soon as you get the hit splat, you know you've been defended, and then you can swap your prayers to the next one. Now, randomly during the fight, with these invocations, he will spawn a period ball, which will come and chase you around and suck the blood out of you like a dirty tampon, and all you need to do is stay away from it. This can actually be very annoying because sometimes the period ball will spawn while you're dodging waves or while you're doing the jug special. That can actually be very, very annoying, but usually it's pretty easy to stay away from it. Now, the wave attacks are very self-explanatory. All you need to do is make sure that you are in one of the gaps in between the waves and just let them pass through you. They also clean up the room for you when they go past, which is quite nice. If you are using a low-range weapon, like maybe a blowpipe or something that doesn't have the range of a bofa, just make sure that you're not attacking during this part because it could pull you forward into the waves. Just get a feel for how far the distance is of your range weapon. But with the bofa, you tend to be pretty good from most of the solves. When Krondis gets to very low health, his attacks will speed up a little bit, and it's very easy to deal with. Just make sure that your switches are correct, and make sure to stay alive, and then slap the fuck out of him, and that is how you deal with the big, ugly, smelly, hissy fit giving Mexican wrestler lizard ass motherfucker. Just so you know as well, if there's any projectiles actually in the air when Krondis dies, they will not do any damage to you, so you can turn your prayers off at that point and just save the prayer, because obviously your prayer and your health and everything will reset after every boss. Now, we are doing this order of bosses for a particular reason. The first and the last boss that you kill are the ones that are going to be in the rooms with the warden, so you want to have Krondis and Baba as the warden demi-bosses. You absolutely want that. So anyway, after we finish with Krondis, we are now going to deal with Kephri. So let's put our melee gear on and go run into the path of the Scarabus, or whatever the fuck it's called. Now, these puzzles are super, super easy, and you actually only need to solve 2 of them, but I'm going to show you every single solve, and I'm going to explain how it works really quickly. It's random what order these are going to be in, but for this first one, go into this area, you activate it, and then you simply just walk on the tiles that are highlighted in red. It is absolutely brain dead. Once you've solved the puzzle, you can see that the door on the opposite side is now open, so you can go through the passageway, and if you want to, you can just continue and do one more puzzle and then the final colour matching thing. I'm just going to show you all the puzzle solved, so on this next one, all you need to do is stand on the tiles that are red. Again, really easy. This next puzzle is really simple. You activate it and then wait for all of the 5 lights to appear on the floor, and then you stand on just those specific lights, so you can skip past the tiles or do whatever you need to do. Again, really simple, and just to reiterate, you don't need to do all of these puzzles. You only need to do one on each side and then go to the final matching puzzle at the end. This next puzzle is the one that most people tend to skip. This is the pillar puzzle where you have to light them all up. Now, if you have a bofa, you can actually stand on this particular tile at the bottom of the stairs, and none of the things that fall from the ceiling will actually damage you. So when you click the wrong pillar, rocks fall from the ceiling and can cause you some damage. If you stand on this particular tile, that will not happen. All you need to do is click through the pillars, and with the plugins that we've got, it will memorize and it will show you which one is number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then you just basically trial and error, click through them, and then you'll get this puzzle solved. It's really simple. Now the final thing you've got to do is this matching puzzle. Again, really simple. Just go and click on all of the grey tiles that are not lit up, light them all up on both sides, and then with the plugins it actually highlights them all for you and tells you which one's which. You click one on one side and then you click the one on the corresponding side on the other side, and then you match them all, and then the puzzle's done. Super simple. Now we're ready to fight Kephri, this weird District 9 alien-ass looking motherfucker straight out of a DMT trip. Go and have a hit of your Divine Super Combat Potion, put Piety on, go into the room and start slapping her. Now she is going to routinely spit balls of fire out from her anus. But seriously, why is she moving like that, man? Why is she throwing it back like that? Start slapping up her hoe ass and moving away from the fireballs before they land on you, and make your way over to the tile that I'm going to show you now, which is the melee trap. Now, this is really important. After a while, routinely, she's going to basically put all these flies around you. There'll be a noise and you will see flies buzzing around you. It's very important that you stand on this particular tile, the melee dung stack. This is going to make it so that when the melee spawns in the room, because there's going to be a ranger, a melee, and a magic bug that's going to spawn, we're going to have to kill all of them. It's going to have to walk around the whole room to get to you. And this room is about poo-poo management, and I'll just show you how to do everything. So for the first poo-poo attack, just make sure you're here and then move over to the left like I'm doing, so that the poo-poo blocks off that section of the room. Keep slapping the shit out of her until the ranger spawns, and as soon as you see the ranger spawn when her first health phase is gone, put Protect from Range on, go around and slap the fuck out of her. And also, just make sure to remember that these swarms are going to come from the ceiling, which will land on you and do massive damage. So you have to look for the shadow underneath you. So it's very similar to Kephri's anus ball attack, except these are like kamikaze bugs that are going to fly at you. And once you've dealt with the ranger, you will notice that there are these swarms moving in towards Kephri. Now, what they are doing is they are actually going to overheal her. But honestly, it's so easy to kill this boss. Like, you can choose to either pull out a ranged weapon and hit some of them and it will stop the heals. This is called swarming. A lot of people do this with a blowpipe, and at higher invocations you absolutely have to do this, and there'll be, you know, sort of 2 people attacking and 2 people swarming if you're doing this as a group raid. You don't have to focus on that for now, I promise you. Just kill the ranger and wait for this phase to end, and then go back to the tile that you see me on and continue to slap and attack and dodge the anus balls. Now, this next part is really important. The next time you get a poo-poo attack, what you need to do is make sure that you're stood on this tile on the corner, and it will stack the poo up diagonally in the corner of the room. You don't need to know why, just do it. It basically means that you're not going to block the arcane that spawns, the magic thing, and you can stack the poo-poo up and it's good for poo-poo management. Just do it. Just all the remaining poo just pop over there. Now, at some point in the fight, she might also throw these eggs out. Now, the big brown ones have a ranger inside that will pop out and start attacking you. It's basically like chip damage. They do not do that much damage to you. You can choose to either destroy these ones to minimize on the amount of rangers that spawn, or you can honestly just tank them. Your blood fury will keep you alive, or if you're desperate, you can do protect from range. I do like to clear a couple of them as well, because if you're stood next to them when they pop, then they actually do damage. So maybe you can just clear off 1 or 2 that are near you and then continue slapping Kephri in the face. And remember, the poo-poo, make sure you're on the diagonal tile I'm going to show you right now. Avoid it, then make sure you move forward so that you don't get trapped. and you can actually continue to stack poo there multiple times, and it will keep it on this nice diagonal path in the corner of the room. When the next health phase is down, she will spawn a melee and the arcane. It is very important to kill the arcane first, because when it fully charges, it will do massive damage to you. Now, sometimes when you get it down to half health, it will actually move to the other side of the room. We've given ourselves some time for the meleeer to walk around, but if the melee is going to come within distance of you, it can hit you quite hard. Just put protect from melee on, finish dealing with the arcane, and then finish with the meleeer, and then again you can either swarm or just wait for this phase to end, and then you'll continue slapping, and from here on out, again, just keep, you know, managing the poo. And this is a really easy room to get through, but if you do it like this, you're never going to fuck it up. Seriously though, why is she throwing it back like this, man? Once the final shield phase is done, her health bar will turn like a bright green. This is her final health bar. She's really weak in this phase. Just continue to do what you're doing, avoiding the attacks, the eggs, whatever. It's really, really simple. Just continue to slap her, put her down, and then turn your prayers off when she's dead, and then we can get out of the room. That is how you deal with the throwback bug. Now, before we go into the next room, you will see that a helpful spirit has spawned, and also a deposit box, which means that if you've got loads of supplies on you and you need to free up some inventory space, you can actually dump them in there and they go straight to your bank. So I'm going to get rid of a couple of things right now. And then with the helpful spirit, you are going to want to take power so that you can get the smelling salts. Don't ask why, don't ask questions. This is just what everybody does. Take power for the first one, and then before we go to fight the big boss, we're going to go take life. But for now, grab power. This is going to give you a little roll of supplies. So the next thing I'm going to tell you to do is do another menu entry swapper on the supplies pouch, and you want to change it so your left click option is resupply. That means to open the pouch, you will shift click it to open it, but left click should be resupply, and I will explain in detail during the warden phase exactly why we're doing that, because it will save your life and it will really, really help you. Don't ask questions with Uncle Spaz, just change your left click option to resupply. Next, I'm going to show you how to deal with Akkha. The puzzle room is actually quite a simple one, to be honest. It's fairly quick to get through it. Go into the room, grab your pickaxe, unless you've got one with you. At the end of the room, you can deposit it, so it is there for future use, but you should be using the best pickaxe that you possibly can. Go into the room, and you will see that the plugin does all the work for you. It shows you where all the mirrors in the room need to be placed, so some of the mirrors in the room can be picked up, and other ones are stationary. So the ones that can be picked up, you'll essentially move them to the red tiles where they need to be, and then the direction is indicated on the tile, so you can rotate the mirrors clockwise or counterclockwise, and when the red tile marker on the floor disappears, that means the mirror has been set correctly. There's also certain walls that you'll need to mine through to open up. It's all completely self-explanatory. You don't need to know what you're doing or why, just follow the plugin and it just basically solves the room for you. Now, there are these black orbs that will spawn, and they can do some damage if they hit you, and also the light beam itself that is fired from the statue routinely, that can also do damage to you. So when you're placing, let's say, the final mirror in the room, you might want to do the one in front of the light beam last, because then it will be bouncing around the room and you'll have to avoid it while you are solving the puzzle. So once you are ready, you can set that up just in front of where it needs to go. You can then push it into place, and then you can move over to these tiles I've indicated, which will allow you to do what's called the tick mining method. So again, it sounds very complicated. It really isn't. You don't need to do that, but I will give you an example of it in a minute in the video. The room is very easy to complete, and when you've done it a few times, you'll be able to breeze through this very quickly. Now, what I was talking about before was this the tick method. So if you're standing on one of the yellow squares, I didn't do it before because I'm just exporting tile markers and just basically filming this video for you, but I will give you an example now. When the countdown timer for the light beam turns green, the second it turns green, you click the obelisk and you will instantly start mining it, and that's what these sweaty virgins do to make sure that they get the fastest possible down on the obelisk. Now, for me, my mining level's 75, so I normally have to down it twice. So it's really, really simple. Even if you're not tick perfect, it's not going to change at all how many times it takes to get it down. Once you've solved the room, you can deposit your pickaxe, and now we can go to the boss fight. Go ahead and shift click to open your supply pouch and bring out some smelling salts. I'm going to explain how ridiculously OP these things are. What smelling salts salts do is they will boost all of your attack styles. So for magic, range, melee, everything will get boosted even more than a super combat potion will do it. Now, this boost also refreshes routinely. So while your smelling salts are activated, you can have brews, for example, to heal you, and all your stats after a few seconds will go back up to being normal again. So you can actually, while you're on smelling salts, just hit the brews if you need to heal up, and you don't have to worry about having a restore to match it, because obviously super restores, you know, when you drink a sour brew, it lowers all your stats. The smelling salts counter attacks that, so they are just insane. They also last for like 7 minutes, which is crazy. Let's go into the Akkha room and I will show you how to deal with this weirdo. So just make sure that you are salted up. Put your magic gear on because he's always going to start using melee. So when you actually go into the room, you'll see the boxes will actually appear around him thanks to our plugins and our packs. And you'll see that when he has a red box around him, he's going to be using melee. So go into the room. I'm not going to show you how to do butterflying. Maybe when we get to when I'm teaching the 300s and 400s, fine, I'll show you how to do that. But for now, absolutely do not need to know how to do that. Go into the room, pray melee, put augury on if you've got augury, and start slapping him with magic. Now, Akkha is annoying and he has a few different special attacks that go on while you're doing this room. So as his health goes down, he will actually spawn these shadows around the room. What you need to do is just start attacking one of them, okay? Switch to your melee gear for this because you can actually get some heals off with the Blood Fury, and also the Asmunten's Fang is so incredibly accurate against them. Remember, when you see the color around him change, so it's changed to green here, you know that he's going to start using range. So just put protect from range on, continue to attack the shadow. And what's nice here is as soon as the shadow's down, if he's still in the green phase, you can keep your melee gear on and continue to attack him, because obviously you use melee against the range phase. Now, have you noticed that my character has turned jet black? Now, shout out to King Condor for this one, but we call this the America phase. So if you are black, fucking stay where you are. If you're not black, you're free to go. If you end up moving while you're black, you can get slapped by the long dick of the law and you will end up taking massive damage. So just stay still when you're black. We've actually done so much damage here that the next shadow has actually appeared before Akkha's even gone into his first proper special attack. So again, let's move over, keep your melee gear on and start slapping the next shadow. And do get ready in case he changes his combat style. You can just follow color coordination and you'll never get it wrong. Now you can see in the corners of the room there are these small yellow progress bars that will fill up as the shadows have spawned, and you know, if you don't destroy them before that bar fills up, you will take huge damage, but it's very easy to out DPS the shadows, especially at this invocation. Next, we've got the Simon Says phase. This is very important that you don't fuck this up, and with feeling special on, it's going to be quite quick. Basically, Akkha will change and then he will disappear, and you will see lights flash on the middle cross section of the room. You need to make sure that you start off with the first one that's lit up and move to each one. You want to click the next light immediately after the shockwave goes off, and you will dodge all the damage. Once you've done this once or twice, you'll realize it's very, very easy. As soon as the special attack is over, go back into the section of the room you've just destroyed your last shadow in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to damage Akkha. You can only damage him in the segments where you have destroyed the shadows. Keep attacking him with the correct style. This will mean switching to your range gear if he's doing magic, and switching to melee if he's doing range. Make sure you get your protection pres correct. You'll take a little bit of chip damage. You've got obviously bruise, you're salted up, you have got your blood fury. You'll be absolutely fine. Every time you destroy a shadow or one pops up, move to the next segment of the room. Just go around the room clockwise, deal with the shadows, make sure to pay attention and deal with the Simon Says special attack and get into the middle of the room straight away. This is what the Simon Says attack looks like in full speed. And remember to pay attention to your character model. If you turn black, freeze. If you turn black and you need to take out one of the shadows, they are very weak to range as well, so you can just put your range gear on and start attacking the shadow while you're black, and then you can put your melee gear back on when you are free to move again. So again, just little things to remember, but you'll learn this really quickly. Now you know how to do everything in the room, so let's talk about the final phase. Once you've killed all the shadows and you have reduced all of Akkha's health, we will go into the come phase. In the come phase, put all of your melee gear on, put protect from magic on, because any of these little cumballs that hit you are going to deal massive damage, and they can stack up on you very, very quickly. So all melee gear on, protect from magic, and then you just simply have to run around the room, avoiding the balls of semen, and just smack the shadow that is illuminated, the one that you can actually attack. And then that is the end of the fight. Job fucking done. We actually killed him very, very quickly then, so we only had to kill one shadow and he didn't even move. So that was a really nice, easy example. Right, now it's time for everybody's favourite room, lads, but don't worry, we're nearly done. It's the monkey room. So for the monkey room, you're going to basically have a mix of all styles that you're going to be swapping between. So you're going to put your ranged top on, the magic bottoms, your assembler on your back. You're going to have the amulet of Blood Fury and the Barrows gloves. Obviously, the helm and the boots don't change. What you also want to do is make sure that your weapons are in the top left corner of your inventory. Makes it very easy to swap. Then we're going to go into the monkey room and I'm going to give you your priorities of which ones you're going to attack and when, and I'm going to make this room very, very fucking easy for you. I'm also going to go ahead and stick my smelling salts back into my supply bag, just free up an extra inventory space. So let's jump in, let's go fuck up some monkeys. So we've already set the monkey room up at the beginning of the video, so now this is going to be easy for you. Go and grab one of the potions, go grab a hammer, start off with your magic weapon, and let's get in there. The first monkey spawns are going to be brawlers, so we're just going to hit them with our magic staff, and on the second wave we're actually going to get a major and a ranger. Now after you've dealt with the major and the ranger, okay, for the rest of the fight you're going to have protect from melee on the entire time. It will make it a lot easier for you. And this is where I want to talk about priorities. The mages are by far the most accurate monkeys in the room, so whenever you see mages you want to take them out first, except for when you've got the gonorrhea monkeys. Now the gonorrhea monkeys will cut off the room, make it annoying, put poison everywhere, so you want to get the freezes off on them really quickly, then deal with, let's say, the mages, then the rangers, and then the shamans. That's the order that you want to do it in. You need to obviously avoid the volatile baboons. You can be smart with where you drag them to make them blow up next to other monkeys so that you can make the room a little bit quicker. Just remember to fix the pillars when you need to fix the pillars. You've got a single click on the potion now, so you just pour that when you're stood directly over the vent, and that is essentially how to get through the monkey room. So that's your priority of how you're going to go about doing it. If you do walk over a patch of gonorrhea, remember 2 doses of Sandfuse serum will heal you completely. You can also cast blood barrages on the hordes of monkeys, and as long as you keep on top of things, after 1 or 2 practices of this you'll start to get it down. Don't stress, remember the priority: gonorrhea monkey, magic, range, and then shaman. And then obviously the brawlers you're going to heal towards the end to get your health back, and if you need to you can use another one of your smelling salts, bruise, restores, whatever. These monkeys are very, very weak, but that is how to do the monkey room in a nutshell, and that's your priority of how to deal with them all. Once that room is solved, it's now time for your boss fight, so stick all of your melee gear on. If you've got your BGS, get your BGS spec ready, hit some smelling salts, have another hit of your divine super combat potion, get yourself ready for some Baba time. Make sure that your inventory is also organized, because we are going to do a full range switch against Baba, because I'm going to show you off the bat how to do the boulder skip and do loads of extra DPS against Baba, and it's not difficult, it's actually absurdly easy. Put protect from melee on, put piety on, go into the room, and Big Moke himself is going to come over and start trying to fuck you up. Slappy slap him with a couple of BGS specs, and then switch over to your melee weapon and defender or whatever and start giving him a little prod. Now what you want to do is get into the habit of standing on his furthest side, like on the hitbox, because one of his like special attacks he does is he slams the ground, and you'll see these like shadows underneath him, and they do pretty big damage. To avoid all of that, you just need to run from one side of the hitbox to the other, and you'll avoid them all every single time. The next thing he's going to do is drop these boulders from the ceiling, so you will see the shadow appear underneath you, you'll hear a noise, the ceiling will start to collapse, and these big ass boulders will fall, so just make sure you move off of that tile. Now a couple of these big boulders will appear in the room and stay in the room. He has one more special attack which will absolutely twat you if you don't avoid it. He will throw a big rock at you, and you need to make sure that you are stood next to the boulder when it hits you. So have auto retaliate off. I should have mentioned this at the start of the guide, to be fair, but always have auto retaliate off in this raid. Now, when Baba's health gets a bit lower, he will do his boulder phase. So he will run to the top of the room. He will actually do an animation where he just stops quite abruptly, goes to the top of the room. You want to switch into all of your range gear at this point, and you can go ahead and turn off your protect from melee and piety. One of the boulders that comes towards you is going to be black. Now, the one that's black can be hit with your bow and it will be destroyed, and then you can go ahead and pass through it. If you're using a blowpipe, you can actually spec them, and you can fully heal off these rocks as well. So this is really, really cool. Extra little bit of advice for you. You can use the blowpipe spec on the rocks. Good idea. Now, if you are comfortable, what I want you to practice doing is, as soon as you destroy the rock, you can actually run through them and make your way up. So I normally destroy 2 of them, and then I can run all the way up towards Baba. When you get to the top, you can put rigor on, and then you can stand to the side and keep attacking him with range, and then he will stay doing his boulder attack, but you're just doing loads of extra damage to him. If you get to the top and do the boulder skip and hit him with melee, he comes out of this phase completely and starts attacking you again. So stay on your range gear, go try and do the boulder skip, get to the top, and then just start slapping him. You'll get used to it. You get loads of time to actually do this boulder skip. Now, sometimes if you've got good RNG and you do loads of damage to him at this point, you will actually take his health down so much that he'll go straight into another boulder attack. So if he does that, just do the same thing, go back up, do some more damage to him. Baba might also, during the fight, spawn these monkeys into the room that will open these sarcophaguses, and they will do extra damage to you if you get within the range. Make it a priority to kill the monkeys as soon as possible, while obviously paying attention to what Baba's doing. Make sure he doesn't get you with any of those big flying rocks, but taking out the monkeys is a big yes. Here, Baba's going to do his second and final boulder phase. He will only do the boulder phase twice during the entire fight, so go ahead and deal with it just like we did before. This is in real time, so you can see how I'm dealing with it. Get that extra DPS done, go kill him. Job done. Just remember to put protect from melee and piety back on if you don't kill him during this phase, because you know he's going to go straight back to attacking you as soon as his boulder phase is over. But essentially that is how to deal with Baba. It's really easy. There is a red X method which I will cover in another video, which shows you how to basically take 0 damage from Baba the entire fight. It's a wicked method, but you do not need to be learning that right now. It's better that you actually learn some of the mechanics of this. Then once you are good and comfortable, you can start using the advanced tactics. Now that we've covered all the demi-bosses, we are ready for the final fight, which is of course against the Wardens. So I'm going to break it all down for you and get you through this. You are nearly at the end. You're doing brilliant, little soldiers. Once again, if you've got loads of extra supplies, we're going to be taking another power up from the Helpful Ghost. We're going to be getting the life package this time. It's going to give us loads of brews and restores and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to run through what they all are with you. So I'm just going to deposit a couple of things. I'm going to clean up my inventory, make it look all nice and neat, and then I'm going to show you what you need to take out. So you're going to want the blue potion, which is the adrenaline. Your ambrosias are basically your fucking senzu beans. They are your white mage, and nobody fucks with the white mage. Now, the ambrosia potion will restore all of your health and all of your prayer in one drink. The adrenaline potions, the blue ones, will make it that your specs only take 50% of the required amount. So it means that, for example, if you had a BGS and you can normally do 2 specs with 100%, you can now do 4. If it's a dragon dagger, it massively reduces that as well. So you can do loads of dragon dagger specs, and that's what we're going to be using the adrenalines for. Just clean up your inventory, get it looking like this, and I normally keep just 2 of each of the nectars and the tears in my inventory. You know, the respective sour brews and the super restores that you get from the Helpful Spirit. Now, when you take a drink from one of these potions, as long as you don't finish the potion and smash the glass, if you click on resupply on your pouch, it will resupply them from whatever other supplies are inside your pouch. So that's why we did the left click swap. So I normally keep 2 of each in my inventory, and then every time I have a couple of drinks, so I make sure I don't finish the potion, just do a little click on the supply pouch and it will refill them. You're going to have way more than enough supplies to get through a 150. You should be absolutely golden. Now you can see that I'm going in with my melee gear and the BGS, because you can use the BGS on the first stage of the Wardens, which is this obelisk phase. lowers the defense, makes it easier. If you're not using a spec weapon, you can just forget the melee gear and go straight for range, but you are going to be using your melee gear throughout this fight. You'll see where. Just keep everything nice and clean. I also like to keep the salts in the inventory, of course, because your salts are like your super mega combat potion and you can brew through it and everything, so I like to keep my salts topped up all the time. In the description of the video, there's going to be loads of ground markers for you to import. I'm going to name them and separate them all. I do not know if I'm going to be able to fit them all in the YouTube description because it's over like 10,000 characters at this point, I think. So if they don't all fit in there, join the Discord, and in my Discord server there'll be a section that says raids, and they'll be in there where you can message me and I'll send them to you. So if I can't get all of them in there, that's the reason why. If you have to, you can just pause the video and copy the tile markers that you can see on the screen. It will only take you literally a few seconds. Now, when you're ready to start this next section of the fight, just speak to the ghost that's waiting for you and the fight will begin immediately. Make sure you've got piety on, that your specs are ready, and you're going to unload your BGS specs. And stand exactly where I am in the video, because you have to tank about 25 damage from the obelisk, so just pay attention to your hit points. Otherwise, it won't play out quite right. So don't ask questions, you don't need to know why, just tank about 25 damage and then do exactly what I'm doing and then move over to the first save tile that I'm showing you. Once you've hit your BGS specs off and you've tanked the damage, you are going to want to switch to all of your range gear because the obelisk is most weak to range. Put your rigger on and start slapping the shit out of it. And when you've got the discotheque section, if it's the red UFOs, you're going to stay in the middle where I am now, and then I've got the save tile marked over to the right. You're going to move to that one as soon as the yellow UFOs show up. So just go ahead and deal with this. It's really easy. But then after you've done the first red and yellow sections where you've got the UFOs, these unavoidable orbs are going to hit you for pretty massive damage. The first one's going to hit you for like 20 plus, the second one's going to hit you for like 30. Just make sure you hit your brews, your nectars, resupply them from your pouch. If you're doing it solo, you have to tank these shots. It's not the end of the world, you'll get through it very quickly. You've got loads of supplies. As soon as the obelisk is dealt with, you're going to go to the tile that you can see me going to. You're going to change into all of your magic gear for the first phase of the actual warden fight. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. Now the warden is going to attack you with range and mage. So the mage are going to look like red skulls and the range is going to look like a kind of greyish ball. He has other attacks to deal with as well, and he attacks in two different like cycles. So one of them is you're going to have these windmill things on the floor that you need to tile skip over. That's why we've got the two tiles set up, and I'll show you how to do that. He's got one where if it hits you, it will freeze you in place. So I'm going to let this video basically play out, and I'm going to explain every attack as they come. This weird red line that he's firing at me, that's actually a melee attack. You also need to be careful to skip over the red lights on the floor because they will do huge damage to you. So just move like I am doing here. This little skull thing is a standard range attack. The red skull, as I've mentioned, is a magic attack. You can see I've just drank a dose of the adrenaline potion because we're going to need that in literally a few seconds. So take a drink of it around about the same time I'm doing it, just when you're in the middle of this phase. Now once you've dealt the maximum amount of damage to the warden, he will drop to his knees. You're going to switch to all of your melee gear and you're going to unload all of your dragon dagger specs on the skull that falls in front of him. The skull on the floor is what's actually going to damage the warden. So you're going to do 4 dragon dagger specs and then a Bandos godsword spec. But while you're learning, just get used to swapping out to your melee gear, getting your piety activated, doing your specs, and just unloading on that thing. Now after this, once the warden rises back up again, he is going to now be immune to magic, so we're going to be hitting him with range. So switch to your range setup now and put rigor on. Again, this is a red orb, so that's magic. Now, this one's interesting. The grey rock, if it hits you, it will freeze you in place and you need to rapidly click away in order to unfreeze yourself. So just make sure you move a tile away so it doesn't hit you. Now when the warden is on this cycle of attacks, this is one of the worst things he does. The obelisk in the middle is going to fire these skulls at you. They do massive area damage, so you have 2 choices to avoid them. You can either look for the shadow on the floor and stay well the hell away from them, but this is going to cause the warden to be dragged out of his spot. It's going to mess up your positioning for doing your tile skips and, you know, keeping him out of melee range and stuff. So what you want to try and do is get into a habit of being 1 or 2 tiles away from the skull that lands, and it's got to be horizontal or vertical. It can't be diagonal. I'm just going to replay a clip of one landing so you can see exactly what I'm on about. You have to be horizontal or vertical, 1 or 2 tiles away from the skull. Either doesn't matter. As long as you're within 2 tiles of it, the shockwave attack will not hit you. Try and get into the habit of doing this. It can be tricky, it can be hard to see these shadows, and I get hit by them very regularly, but as long as you've got plenty of supplies, or at the very worst case scenario, an ambrosia will sort you out. If you do get hit by one of these attacks, it will turn your prayers off as well, your protection prayer, so just pay attention to what's going on. Once you're past this phase, the warden will drop to his knees again. You repeat what we did before. We switch to our melee gear, we unload a few dragon dagger specs, and then maybe hit him a couple of times with the Bandos Godsword, because you will always hit your max hit. So make sure your piety is on, all of your best melee gear. Do that switch quickly. The faster you get and the better you get at switching, the easier it's going to be to get out of this absolutely anus phase of the fight. Like I mentioned before, when he is out of this down phase, he will go back to being immune to either magic or range. It always alternates, and it's always the same pattern every time you do the raid. First you have to attack him with magic, then it's range, then it's magic, then it's range. So just if you were just attacking him with magic, you know that when he gets up, he's going to be weak to range. What you can see on the floor now as well is one of the other things that you'll get attacked with. We call this the windmill phase. It's very easy to avoid this. Just don't be stood on the red lights. That's why we have these 2 tile marks. You just switch between them. So just watch the video a few times, get used to it. It's okay to die while you're learning. You'll get this. Now on his last down phase, if you know that you're going to kill him, what I would do is save some of your spec energy, because you can do a Bandos Godsword spec on the final phase of the Warden just to make life a bit easier for you and bring the defense down. So what I'm doing here is I'm not going to unload all of my specs. I'm going to just use my Bandos Godsword, get those last few hits, make sure that I'm ready, and then we're going to go into the final phase, and I'm going to show you how to deal with the end of the raid. You've probably seen this before. The Warden's going to attack you to the right, to the left, to the middle. So this is going to show you the safe tiles that you can stand on. Now, the Warden is always going to start with the right tile being safe. Okay, so the 3 tiles I've got in the middle are the 3 tiles that you need to move between to do this entire fight. On the left and right hand side of the screen, you can also see a line of dark tiles that I've marked as well. This is to do the skull skip phase. Now, if I can't fit all the tile markers in the description to this video, I will make sure to put these tiles in, because marking these tiles while you're in the middle of the final phase is very difficult. So at the very least, I will make sure that these tiles are in there. Stick to your right line, run up to the Warden and hit him with a good old Bandos Godsword spec. Make sure piety is on, and you've got an adrenaline, so if you have that, it means you can get extra specs off. My spec energy is actually quite low, but we do manage to land the Bandos Godsword spec. While you're learning, maybe you don't want to go ahead and try this, and you just want to focus on actually doing the damage to the boss. Now, you need to make sure you are moving right, left, middle, right, left, middle. Very, very easy. Get your specs off and then try and move back to those original yellow tiles that I've marked on there, and then you're going to get your range gear on. Take your time, just make sure you're avoiding these lines of attack coming at you. But again, it's right, left, middle. It's always the same, and the Warden will always start from the right hand side as long as insanity is turned off, which it is. Once you're back safe and you have got your range gear on, stick on rigor and let's start slapping the shit out of him. And I'm going to explain next how to do a skull skip, which you should absolutely be doing on solo, because it's so easy and it will give you extra points, and you absolutely should be doing a skull skip. The first set of skulls pops out of the ground. You're going to run over to the left hand side. I like to use the left hand side. Go onto this line of dark tiles that I have marked, and then what you need to do is start spam clicking a skull that is like adjacent to you, as in like directly horizontal to you, and it's got to be one that is near or past the middle of the board. So this will do your skull skip automatically. All you need to do is spam click it, and you're going to see that you can't mess it up. As long as you're in the right spot, you just spam click the skull and then you'll do a skull skip. Now, I'm telling you, it is brain dead, but if you aren't comfortable doing the skull skip, all you need to do is equip a melee weapon and then hit each one of the skulls. and then it will deal extra damage to the Warden. But I think you absolutely should be learning from day one how to do your skull skips, and I'm going to explain it in each phase. So the first skull skip, you've got nothing to worry about. You just spam click the correct skull. You can be anywhere on that line up and down the room, but you just need to make sure you're on that line of marked dark tiles and that the skull you are attacking is directly adjacent to you. This one's really, really easy. Once you have perfectly executed your skull skip, you're going to go back to your right tile and the fight is going to resume exactly as it has been going so far. When we get to the next set of skulls, the fight is going to get slightly harder, and you're going to see that Krondis has now appeared as a demigod on the left hand side of the screen. So now, while you're doing the fight and paying attention to everything else, you need to make sure that you are swapping your prayers correctly, with the red projectile, the shell, being a magic attack, and with the rock obviously being a range attack. For the second set of skulls, this is also a really brain dead one. All you are going to do is stand on the line like we did before, pick the skull just like we did before, and you're going to spam click it and skip it. The only thing you need to pay attention to is obviously the magic and the range attacks coming. It is way better to tank one of those attacks, which might not even hit you, than to get hit by the skull skip attack, because that will kill you instantly. So if you see like a range projectile coming at you and you're not praying the right prayer, just let the thing hit you and then just brew up afterwards. You'll be absolutely fine. But the skull skipping is what you need to get down. After you've skipped the second set of skulls, go straight back to your right tile. This time, again, you're going to be focusing on your prayers because of these projectiles flying at you from the left. Right, left, middle, right, left, middle, right, left, middle. You got this, you're groovy. It'll take you a few attempts before you get really comfortable with it, but once you are, I promise you, it is really not that hard. I know that you can learn this. Anyone can learn how to do these raids with enough time put into it. Now, the third set of skulls is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because now you've got Baba throwing stuff at you as well. So here's how you deal with the third set of skulls. Go back over to the line on the left-hand side, make sure you're paying attention to your prayers, and while you're on this line, wait for a shadow to appear underneath you. That's one of the boulders from Baba. Just move one tile and then Baba's going to throw another boulder at you. Now this boulder, you don't need to move off the tile, you don't need to avoid it. As long as you do the skull skip, you will move out the way just before it hits you, and it will happen like this every single time. So I'm going to do it in slow motion to show you exactly what I'm on about. The first rock, you're going to avoid it, you're going to move down, making sure to keep on the line on the left. When the second boulder's coming, that one, you don't need to move because you will avoid it as long as you are clicking that skull. You're going to run out from underneath it just before it hits you every single time. Just be brave, and as you can see, this second falling rock is not going to touch you. So now you need to make sure your prayers are correct, and to be honest with you, the rocks falling from the ceiling at this point are really going to make very little difference to you, because as long as you're moving right, left, middle, right, left, middle, right, left, middle, they are almost never going to fall on you, because as long as you keep moving, the rocks are never ever going to touch you. Now for the fourth set of skulls, it's exactly the same as what we've just done, except instead of avoiding one rock and letting the second one fall, you avoid two rocks, and then the third one you'll automatically avoid it from the skull skip. It's exactly the same, so you just need to listen for two of those whistly sound effects of the rock falling from the ceiling. So again, I'm going to show you what it looks like in slow motion, and don't worry, you're nearly home free. Now look very carefully. Baba has thrown one more rock before the Warden has started attacking, so this rock, if I don't move, will actually hit me. I'm just going to move down one tile, it won't hit me, and then I can go straight back into my left, right, middle, left, right, middle, left, right, middle. This is literally the only time where one of these rocks might actually fall on you. Now when the Warden gets to a low enough health, he's going to go into his bullshit phase. Now in the bullshit phase, you're going to have rocks falling on you from the ceiling. You're going to be having to swap your prayers and paying attention to Krondis on the left hand side. And while this is going on, there will be shadows appearing on the floor which will hit you with lightning strikes. The best way to get through this phase is to stick pretty close to the front of the room, because the floor is going to disappear from behind you. You want to click to attack the Warden, then move. Click to attack Warden, move. Warden, move. Warden, move. Warden, move. And try and stay on safe tiles. you will probably inevitably end up getting hit a few times. This is why you've got ambrosias. This is why you have got extra supplies. This is why you've got brews. So just click, move, click, move, click, move, and you will avoid this. Just try and stay on safe tiles. Congratulations, you have managed to finish Tombs of Amascut. That wasn't so hard, was it? And again, if you want to come and raid with me, come and fucking raid with me. When you go into the chest room, it's obviously tradition that you look at the ground, that you slowly walk forward. Fuck that, I'm having a look at the chest. And we are never fucking lucky. Anyway, that is how you do Tombs of Amascut, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm not the best player in the world, not by a long stretch. I can do up to 400s at an absolute push at the moment. I'm still trying to get my yellow Keris, which is absolutely incredible, which will fully heal you with the special attack. But certainly for learning, starting off with 150s, I really put so much effort into this guide. It's over an hour long. I know it's the longest video I've ever edited. I really hope you enjoyed it. We ended up getting a reasonable drop from this. We got loads of runes and we got loads of seeds, and it ended up being, what was that, like nearly 500k or something. So yeah, not bad, but you want to be chasing those purples, and the higher invocation you do, the better chance you've got at those purples. So start with this, start learning, you can do this. My name is TheSpazDevil. I swear to God, you'd better fucking like this video because it took me freaking ages to put it together, but I genuinely hope you've enjoyed it. See you on the next one.